Oh, let me tell you something. Bustin' makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, Fifi Dosch.
Hi. What's up,
Hi,
everybody?
Fifi. It's so nice to see you. I am good.
It is. Yeah, I haven't seen you in forever. I haven't seen anybody in forever.
Yeah, it's been, God, I mean, it's June tomorrow. And I think the last time I saw you was before all this went down, probably maybe even February.
Probably. I was talking to Stephen Fury the other day. He's a comic friend of ours, and we were thinking about organizing just to go stand in the parking lot of the Comedy Store, socially distant apart, and just shoot the shit again. I just miss doing that.
I think that'd be a good idea. I went and did. There's now these shows popping up that are like the drive-in open mic, and then I guess there's a beach one now, and then now I know that American Comedy Company in San Diego has started to actually open again. But it's very interesting just seeing like seeing that many comics in person again is still very jarring to me. It's so, because it's just been so long since I've hung out with my friends, really.
Like, we're a lot to deal with, too, and when you're just swimming in it, like, everyone's chaos all the time, you're like, oh, yeah, this is normal, but then we're, like, away from them, and then it's like, hey, here's 10 dysfunctional people just going off at 11 all at once. Like, we're a lot.
Right. And of course, now, like, I feel like comics always had a pretty decent time of like, yo, we'll exchange pleasantries. We'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, how you doing? Oh, I'm all right. How you doing? I'm all right. And now whenever I see people and they're like, I'm like, how you doing? They're like, this is wild. And I'm like, yeah, same, it's God. So at least I feel like we're all even cranked up even higher than we normally would be.
Well, and the funny thing is, too, is like I literally started transitioning. I started like going on hormone therapy like the day the stay-at-home order went down.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, in a way, I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah, you can get to transition in a vacuum.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, oh, wow, it's like my first happy time, but like everyone else is just miserable. Like you said, everyone's freaking out, and I'm just like baking cakes and playing mandolin, and it's been great.
Yeah, what are you drink? This is like a fancy Stein. This is you got some nice stuff going on over there.
With a squirrel on it. Gil Garibaldo gave me this one year. It's Squirrel Stein.
It's very Snow White.
It is. I'm very glad you appreciate that. It's really like Craig Ferguson snake mug,
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, I've wanted to have you on for such a long time, Fifi, and I'm glad that we're finally able to pin down something to talk about. And what a choice, what a process we went through. And the movie you've brought to me today that you wanted to talk about is The Danish Girl.
Yeah, and I want to put, like, I don't hate it. I don't think it's like, I don't think it's bad for anyone or anything. I don't really have a bone to pick for it. It's just like, I'm supposed to like it, and it's just like aggressively, benignly not good. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like we were talking before this started. It's like, can you pinpoint a scene from this movie that you, and I'm like, no, I can't. It's just a slurry of like,
it is
of just forgettable shit. And like, this is like, if you haven't seen it, like, don't, because it's just not fun. Like, unless you want to jerk Eddie Redmayne, like, do your thing. But even then, they got the trailer online. But like, it's just like, it's a story of the first like person to go through gender transition surgery, and like, how well do you think that went? Like, like, spoiler alert, it went poorly.
Yeah. What do you think? You think complicated surgeries are going to do great in the 1920s? I wouldn't bet on it.
Oh yeah, like she goes into the guy at the end and she's like, "Can you make me Lily?" And the guy's just like, yeah. And it's like even like she's surprised, like you don't want to do like decades of research. He's just like, "Nah, I got it."
And even Alicia Vikander at the end too, when Lily goes in for the second round of surgery, Alicia Vikander's character Gerda is just like, just don't do it. You're not ready yet. And Lily's like, no, I'm gonna be great. And then dead.
Yeah,
dead
it's
from
like
complications.
Yeah, exactly. Like just because she's the first, like, it's just one of those Hollywood movies. It's just so about something so hard, and it's like that doesn't make it a good film. Like, remember that Sandra Day O'Connor movie that came out and nobody saw?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, exactly. I couldn't even tell you the name of it.
I can't. I think it's fuck. I can't remember the name of it either. I think it's On the Basis of Sex.
Yes, that's exactly right. And it's like no one. It's like, isn't this a wonderful achievement? And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't make a good movie,
Right. It's like the Ruth Bader Ginsburg documentary where everybody pushes it as like, this is a movie that is an achievement and we need to see it. And then I haven't seen it. It's one of those things that like, it's just kind of, it gets kind of all swirled together in this like important kind of this judgment, and then all of a sudden, if you watch it, you can see the flimsiness of the actual storytelling.
Yeah, and it's just like you just know everyone sitting there watching it is like, I am important, watching this important thing, and it's like and trans people didn't like it because they don't like anything, and Also, it's like, oh, you made Eddie Redmayne look like a woman, did you? This fucking pixie? Of course you did. Yeah. He's a little pixie man. Of course he's more beautiful than anyone. Yeah.
Right. It's, of course, what do you do? That's not a surprise.
Like, throw some moisturizer on him and you're good. He's already got like a pixie cut.
Mm-hmm. Just give him that little dewy skin and all of a sudden, perfect.
He's just walking around like a man, and still he looks like a flapper when he's in man mode. Like, this is bullshit movie.
Yes, yeah, he should have the little dress with the tassels and the hat.
Yeah.
Now, a question that I have is, when did you see this movie for the first time, and what was that experience like?
I think I saw it when I was like. This was like last year I really sat down and watched it, and this was during my like maybe I'm transgender kind of thinking around, and like I started watching it, and like I did end up finishing it, but I remember just 40 minutes and I'm like, this movie sucks. This is shitty. Like I was like, maybe I'm just being obstinate and in denial. That's why I think I'm like, no, this sucks. And like Dallas Buyers Club sucks too,
Okay.
And I hate it too because it's like when things like come out, they're like, why wouldn't they cast a trans woman in this role, or like Jared Leto's role in Dallas Buyers Club? It's like, because the only reason this is interesting at all is because it's a good performance by like a cis dude. You're like, oh, didn't he do a trans woman? Like, if this was for a trans woman playing this, you'd realize like, oh, this movie has nothing going on.
Right.
In it that's interesting. Yeah.
You just have to watch Eddie Redmayne's lip quiver enough, and then all of a sudden, perfect, boom, award-winning.
Yeah, have you seen Eddie Redmayne's lip quiver? You've seen the movie.
So there's this this section of the Wikipedia page that the movie had been in development for a very long time, and it's the gal who wrote it, Lucinda Coxon, started writing it in 2004 and said that there were several well-known actresses who wanted to play Gerda, but the subject matter made it difficult to find someone to play Lily, which seems... I feel like I guess at that point, like the Oscar baitiness of a role like this hadn't landed in the minds of actors.
Right.
Because this seems like the kind of thing that, like, of course, Eddie Redmayne having just come off of Theory of Everything and winning an Oscar for that, you get him to jump at a role like this and do that. And as time sort of went on with the direction of the movie, it took a long time. It was in development hell for a very long time. And of course, when it came out, it kind of got middling reviews from the critics.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in theaters. I remember a lot of people, it came out in that sort of Oscar bait season. I don't really even remember the marketing. So I would like to watch the trailer. Let's take a look and see what this film was marketed as and how it was marketed. Because I have a feeling it's going to be sort of that capital I importance. Like if you watch this is this is a feel-good story. I feel like it's how they're going to kind of broadcast it to us. But I don't know.
Well, I'm excited.
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh, important music.
She seemed so sure.
I was sure. He was so shy and mysterious. Is there something you'd like to tell me?
Is there something you'd like to know?
I'm your wife. I know everything. Could you help me with
See, as soon as you see from the Academy Award winner of The King's Speech, I lose all trust in this movie. Because as far as I'm concerned, The King's Speech can go fuck itself.
Yeah.
Hello there. We're going to call you Lily. I want to sketch you. Lily. We should go out tonight. Give them something different. Lily. You're exquisite.
You're different from most girls. I feel I'd need to ask your permission before I kissed you.
Oh boy, here we go. Why are there boats?
There was a moment when I wasn't me.
No one gets on a boat
There
in
was
this
a moment
movie.
when I was just...
Lily.
I don't get it.
But Lily doesn't exist. We were playing a game.
Something changed.
He's lost his way. He needs a friend.
Oh, it's in Europe.
Let me help. I think Lily's thoughts. I dream her dreams.
Oh, they're going to show her getting beaten up.
I meet my husband. I need
Of
to
course
hold
they are.
my husband.
Of course.
Are you all right?
The fact is, I believe that I'm a woman.
And I believe it too.
Boy, I hope it works out.
Attempted before.
Did you see those surgical tools? They look like they're made out of like rubber. Like they might as well just hand her a whiskey bottle.
Yeah, give her a fucking dowel to clamp down on.
Yeah, exactly. Hey girl, we're gonna carve out your new vagina out in the prairie like it's the Old West. I hope it goes well.
This is how bad medical science was at that time. Is somehow the doctors who did the surgery in this movie still were telling Lily, yeah, you might be able to have kids.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're pretty confident
it's
that you're
very-
going to be able to pop a baby out of yourself once we're all done with
Wouldn't you-
this.
Like, hey, why don't we try the gender reassignment on like this squirrel first or whatever they have in the Netherlands, wherever the movie was.
Yeah, so we're gonna go. They're all over Europe. Everybody's talking with these wonderful British accents, just like you do in Copenhagen and Paris.
Exactly. Like, hey, look, here's a story of this human guinea pig. Like, hey, we experimented on this guinea pig from this nice Dutch Mengele. Like, what the fuck is this movie?
So I have some questions about. There's a very specific plot point very early on in the movie where you start to see the basic plot of this movie. If you haven't seen it, for the listeners out there, is so this is a sort of biographical romantic drama film. The weird part about I didn't realize this is that they can't call it a straight up biopic because it's based on a novel that's based on a person. So it's like double secret fiction going on here.
Yeah, it's also there's like, another thing too. Like there's way more like, there's way more like interesting trans people to like make a movie about. Like what's God? Hold on, I'm gonna Google this girl's name real quick. I should know this. I feel terrible.
It's all good. You're still learning, so figure it out. you got time.
Okay, have you ever seen Ed Wood?
No, but I'm familiar with it. With the concept of it.
Okay, I think her name was here. I'm gonna Google it real quick because I'm gonna feel bad if I don't get this. Okay, Christine Jorgensen. Like, you know the movie, the sex change movie Ed Wood made that was like so terrible and they thought was a joke, you know?
I'm looking that up right now just to make sure I get that info.
Well, it doesn't matter. That's a plot point. Like that was originally in the movie. That was based off the rights of a real trans woman named Christine Jorgensen in the 50s who, like, as a guy, served in World War II and then came back to America and went to Europe and, like, went and got as successful. She had, like, a successful sex change and got married back in America and was, like, kind of a mild celebrity for a while and was just this really, like, funny, vibrant girl with a sense of humor. And, like, that could have been a really fun, like, marvelous Mrs. Maisel looking trans movie. But, like, Christine, and I got another bone to pick with this too. Like, it's just, I hate, like, Oscar movies because they just love making movies about gay people getting hurt. Like,
oh yeah,
we gotta have her getting hate crimed. We gotta have, like, you know, Rayon and Dallas Buyers Club dying of AIDS. It's like, we're gonna make all these movies to show how liberal we are, but we need to underscore the point that we're better than you. I'm like, ugh.
Right. There's literally on the Wikipedia page for this movie, there's this whole slew of points that talk about how historically inaccurate scenes and elements in this movie are. The most obvious one is that scene where's the actual point on here? But they're talking about, so they moved to Paris in 1912 in real life. Lily and Gerda did. And the city of Paris in the 1910s and the 1920s, which is when the movie takes place in the 20s, it's a very liberal city, right? It's very, you know, the people of and
then in the 30s and 40s, all that kept going.
Right, of course. But
I remember right.
Some history books I think talk about that, perhaps. But all of this, you know, there's people of all different sexualities and gender identity and stuff that is present in the city at that time in real life that everybody's just kind of cool with, and nobody's like, oh, there's a gay person, there's a lesbian, there's somebody who's transitioning, and they are all just like, all right, cool. But no, we got to have the scene where somebody gets beat up because they're gay and because they're different.
Yeah, well, they just, I mean, Hollywood loves making gay bash movies because of what I just said. Also, like, in their defense, they had to do something because nothing happens to this woman. I mean, literally her story is, I was sad, then I went in for the first gender reassignment surgery. I bled to death out of my new pussy and died. Like,
and by the way, it takes us an hour
like 14
and 40
script
minutes
pages,
to
Jay.
get to that. It's so long.
Exactly.
Buffered up before that. Now, the question, and there is one, I don't know if they have the scene, but there's a moment that I want to talk about plot point wise that's relatively early on in the script. There's a little bit was shown in the trailer where you see Eddie Redmayne before, what's the actual painter's name? Einar, I think. Whatever. Close enough. Einar Wegner. There you go. Classic Dutch name. So before Einar is fully transitioning into Lily, there's this scene where Eddie Redmayne as Einar is dressing up in ballet slippers and stockings and a dress because Amber Heard as the model isn't showing up in time to be painted. Yeah. And there's these there's these shots that basically it's like, this is the moment for an audience who just like, all right, we're going to really boil down like what the process of being, of accepting your identity as a transgender person is. So let's say, oh, they saw what they looked like in the legs and shoes for the first time. And that's when she realized, oh, I am actually a woman. Which seems like a gross oversimplification just for the sake of filmmaking.
I mean, yeah, but like, it's like, but it's also like, okay, like imagine I were filming a scene with you where it's like, hey, now Jay comes up with an idea. How do you make like I realize something cinematic? Like in their defense, like
this is right, yeah.
If I can think of a smarter way to show that visually, like I'll hit you up, but I can't. I will say this though, like there's so many scenes in this movie of like both Eddie Redmayne and then what's her name, Alicia Vikander, like putting on stockings and like being really sexy, and it's like, okay, I guarantee the screenwriter jerked off to this a number of times. Like I can pinpoint the exact moments in the writing of the script where the screenwriter nutted all over the place, and it's I can imagine the going back into the editing bay to Tom Hooper just sitting there just watching, just like, all right, what's the sexiest scene we can make out of this? Or also there's this scene in the beginning where his wife is painting this man and she's all like, you are my painting subject. Most men aren't comfortable taking direction from a woman. And I'm like, why is this here?
I don't know. And she tells the dude she tells the dog to sit, and then the dude like looks like he just came in his pants as he was sitting there. Oh,
right, like he's just leaking pre-cum all over his 1920s trousers. It's like, have a conversation with your wife, Tom Hooper. Like, what do you...
Yeah, he's got cum crusted in the cummerbund. He's putting cum in cummerbund. That's where it's all really coming out of.
Oh, Jay, I don't go for that kind of humor.
So there's a lot of just sort of hemming and hawing before we get to the actual gender reassignment part of the movie. This is a 2-hour-long movie that could have been a wonderful short film.
Oh, yeah.
Could have been a fantastic short film, but instead we're getting just an hour and 30 minutes of Alicia Vikander and Eddie Redmayne arguing over whether or not Alicia Vikander sort of accepting but not accepting that her husband is transitioning, but sort of repeating the same points over and over again. It's just sort of it's such a slog to get through.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh, we're going to go to this party as Lily, and guys are going to hit on you for no reason. And just because they have nothing to do.
Yeah.
You know? Now,
when you watched this, you mentioned that you were sort of starting to think, okay, maybe am I transgender? Yeah. Did seeing something like this, how did it affect your mind frame?
It made me feel like this movie sucks. It's just like, because I don't know, when you transition, you uplift your whole life, and you like, okay, like I kind of had something pretty fundamental about myself kind of wrong. Mm-hmm. I wonder if like, kind of makes you wonder if like, okay, are like all my tastes wrong? Am I going to be like, am I going to like the same stuff? So I found myself giving a shot to a lot of things, or I would have dismissed before, but then I'm like, no, this sucks. Like,
yeah. Because it seems like the process, at least based on watching you transition over social media, it seems like the process for transitioning is a very uplifting, empowering process.
Yeah.
And this movie does not seem to really capture that.
Yeah.
Which is...
Well, that's the thing. The process of transitioning, it's like, oh, I can like, I don't mean to be morose or whatever, but like until I started living as a woman, like I literally never smiled ever. Like, I'm not being hyperbolic. So like, to me, the whole process is like, it's the most fun. I'm so happy about it. But like, no, even like that show Transparent, which I haven't seen, but I'm like, I believe is good. It's just also like, I find so many like queer movies and TV shows are just so not fun. You know? You know who my favorite trans woman in a movie is? The girl who showed her dick at the Peeping Tom and Pink Flamingos. That's like, go off, queen.
Now that's empowerment right there. You know?
Like her and Buffalo Bill are way more fun than anyone.
Oh my God! Yeah, if they had redubbed, I would imagine somebody on YouTube has to have redubbed the scene where Eddie Redmayne does the tuck in the in the mirror that's just fogged enough to show him, and just dubbed over that with fucking Goodbye Horses.
Some like classy European woman. She's like playing it on a harp. Ding, ding, ding.
Well, that's the thing too, is like watching, reading about the critics' response to this movie's rather. There's some people, film debate, according to the Wikipedia page. They're saying it's the most important film of 2015. The story makes a film that the whole world needs to see and get behind.
No, they don't.
Right. And these are the people who are...
the whole world needs to be bored shitless by this movie. Right. No, they don't. Yeah.
It's the one example of actual praise coming to this movie in the Wikipedia section, which the next part is Kyle Buchanan in Vulture said, this is part of a trend of queer and trans films that are actually about straight people. Casey Plett, a transgender writer, criticized the script as atrocious and boring, going on to say it's like someone got inspired by a Shakespeare tragedy, then combined the verbosity of R.L. Stine with the subtlety of Brendan Fraser.
Well, I don't know about all that. I mean, also, can we not hate on Brendan Fraser? He's fine.
He is. Yeah. Love Encino Man. Brendan from The Mummy, solid.
The Mummy was a good time. I'm not too cool for The Mummy, and neither are you, America.
Absolutely not. You don't act like you're too cool for the fucking Mummy.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I want to say. Like, I don't hate this movie. Like, it's one of those. I mean, I don't know. I have a good time making fun of it because it's just like I'm supposed to like it, and I just don't. You know.
Right, which is, I mean, that's the whole that's the whole reason for the show. You know, it's not about necessarily whether a movie is good or bad at the end of the day. It's about why you feel the way you do about it.
I don't like how queer things have gotten so serious in the last like 20 years, you know. I just find it like so stifling, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I this is actually a great thing to a great transition now, because I have a question.
Oh, pun boy.
Let's look what I did. A little wordplay. So the queer trans LGBT experience on film tends to be, as far as like for people who are making movies or television about it, it's like it's awards bait, and it becomes, because of that, I think, this sort of like morose, hard to enjoy and appreciate kind of storytelling. But
yeah,
of course, there are examples out there of storytelling that tells queer or trans or lesbian or gay stories that are not just a fucking, just like, gray drab to watch.
Yeah, it's like fucking, social justice homework. Like, I don't.
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's good because like the ending of Ace Ventura was abhorrent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
By the way, can we talk about that for a minute? Like, that's so. The ending of that movie is like so cartoonishly not okay. It's like hilarious because it's like literally, it's like, hey, like I'm gonna violently disrobe this trans woman because she stole a fucking dolphin, and like,
right.
Literally, he's like, Ace is like yanking her fucking top off and like pulling her fucking pants off, and the cops are just sitting there. Like, gee, I hope you're right, Ace, because if you're wrong, you're kind of raping a cop. Like,
right. And then all of a sudden, all right, I guess, well, he was right. That means we're all going to puke in unison into the docks.
Oh, yeah. He takes like a shame shower earlier, and it's like, bro, you have an actual fucking skunk in your apartment. Like,
it's ridiculous.
Jeez Louise.
So if there were some things that you think that the straight folk out there who want a change of pace from just watching gray, drab, depressing movies about gay people, lesbian people, transgender people, queer people, what are some things that we should watch instead?
That's even like, I wish I had something to tell you, Jay. I can't think of anything.
Really?
Like, like, I mean, honestly, nothing modern. Even like Hedwig and the Angry Inch is like a pretty bitter movie, all things considered. I mean, it's not like, not that there's, I mean, that's not a problem, but it's certainly not like,
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly don't laugh a lot,
Right.
Yeah,
What's the kind of story that you would like to see? You mentioned what was the actress's name? I'm sorry, the one you were telling about before with the Ed Wood movie, Claudine. Christine
that would
Jorgensen,
be.
yes.
I mean, even then, you know what? Would I? I don't even know if I'd go see that movie.
Huh.
Like, it might be a thing like I stream and be like, hey, that was like, I'm not mad at this.
Right. You wait
You know
for
what
it
I
to
would
show up
really,
on HBO
you know what I would like
Max.
to see? I would like to see like queer people making comedies that you would have seen in like the 2000s. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay,
like that
like
kind
old school, but
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it's just like, God, I just hate being coddled, Like, it's so
Right.
weird because, like, we both go to the Comedy Store a lot, right? Which is has a not entirely unearned reputation for being, like, rambunctious and, like, being kind of bro-y. Again, not that there's anything wrong with that. But, like, I feel way more comfortable there than doing, like, I hate to say this, but if you said, Fifi, would you rather do a queer comedy show or go do up at the Comedy Store? I mean, like, I wouldn't even stop to think about a Comedy Store.
Right.
Like, I don't like I don't like being separate. Like, I did a show in Texas before all this went down, and, like, I wasn't out as a trans woman yet, but I was living as a gay man and really queering it up, and fuck did I have a good time. This is in, like, suburban Dallas,
See, that's this. I feel like, but I think you're onto something. I feel like if somebody went to go out and find, we get not remakes, but in that vein where it's just like you can show. Sorry, there's a fly in here that I just tried to catch. If you want to show like just the fun and comedy and lightheartedness and make it really rambunctious and entertaining.
Yeah, right? Like, I take it back to, like, watch anything by John Waters. Like, that's the gay world I want to live in, where it's just, like, ridiculous and silly, and these people aren't, like, ridiculous because they're queer, trans, or whatever, but it's just this look, I think I'm pretty, like, hardcore, and, like, yeah, nothing shakes me up. I'll watch any goddamn comedy. I sat through Pink Flamingo. I watched Pink Flamingos for the first time, like, 4 years ago, and, like, even I had to be like, whoa, and shut my computer down and, like, go walk down the block for a while. I'm like, this shit is hardcore.
Yeah, I've heard. I've still not seen Pink Flamingos, but
I would love to watch Pink Flamingos with you, J-Light. Like, if I could watch that with anybody.
I'm down. I gotta
hey,
find
these two people are gonna fuck while there's a chicken. They're smushing a chicken in between their bodies, and this guy's singing out of his asshole. Like, you're precisely the audience I want to see that with.
Oh my God! Well, maybe it'll be once we can. I got to figure out where it is. Maybe there'll be some Patreon content. We'll do a live commentary.
Yeah, hey.
Of Pink Flamingos.
There you go.
Well,
gee shucks, I don't know if I ought to talk out of his asshole. Oh boy.
oh well, something does seem a little off about this, huh? Oh, she's eating just some dog shit off the ground, huh? Weird. Oh no.
That's the tamest part of that movie by far. By far. When that happens, you're like, oh, thank God I can breathe.
Well, Fifi, it's been a real pleasure talking about the Danish Girl with you. I had a much better time doing this than actually watching the Danish Girl about an hour.
I'm sure you did.
If
I had a more fun time watching riot footage than watching the Danish Girl.
Oh my God, yeah, at least when I was watching people looting from Flight Club and running down my block and alley yesterday, I was excited and just like, oh, I feel energy now.
At least I feel something.
Yeah. Fuck. If the listeners want to find you and find your work, of course, you got your great podcast, Fifi Quest, out right now.
Yeah, I do. I just started Fifi Quest. It's ostensibly about my transition and kind of like the weird bullshit I do week by week. It's like things you've never know that like is involved in that whole thing. And yeah, I put that out every week and I just kind of goof out and shoot the shit and have a good time with it. It's called Fifi Quest. It's on you can watch it on YouTube. It's also on Apple and Spotify and all the podcast places. And I have a lot of fun with it, and I think you guys would too. So check it out.
Great. And then you're at Fifi Dosch on social media?
Yep, Fifidosch.
Wonderful. So go check out Fifi's work. Go check out Fifi Quest. And when you see her in town doing some comedy shows again, go check out her comedy. She's fucking great. And you can follow me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. And support the show on Patreon if you like it. You can get involved in the Blockbusting Film Club, J-Flix, where you get access to all my movies and TV shows. So it's a fun time. So hang out. And Fifi, thanks again. You were great. Thank you too, Jay. I'm glad we made this happen. This was so much fun. Me too. Oh, I feel so light and happy right now because of this. Folks, this has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.